We spend so much time and energy focusing on teaching kids the basics of reading and writing. But in the Montessori world, that's just step one. It's like unlocking a door. So today, let's talk about what's on the other side, how we can turn those basic skills into real, genuine, creative expression. So this really brings up a huge question, right? A child can sound out words, they can write a sentence. So are we done? Is that mission accomplished? Well, the Montessori philosophy says, not even close. This is actually the starting line, not the finish. The real adventure is just getting started. And that's because the real goal of language isn't just about being technically correct, it's about expression. It's about giving kids the tools they need to share that incredible universe of ideas and feelings that are buzzing around inside them. I mean, think about it. Literacy without a purpose is like being handed a key to an amazing room, but never actually turning the lock. So these follow-up activities, or extensions, they're not just bonus work. They're designed to give literacy a real personal meaning. They help kids fire up their imagination, figure out how to get their ideas across clearly, and connect with this huge, amazing history of human storytelling. And maybe most importantly, this is how they build a real, lasting confidence. Okay, so what does this actually look like in a classroom? It's not about boring lectures, that's for sure. It's about giving kids a hands-on, practical toolkit for creativity, a bunch of activities that basically invite them to play with words, to experiment, and to really discover just how powerful their own voice can be. So let's peek inside the writing toolkit first. Instead of just a generic prompt on the board, a child might get a set of cool story cards or a really interesting picture to spark an idea. They're encouraged to do what's called experience writing, writing about a field trip or something cool they saw in the garden. It makes writing feel real and relevant. And later they can get into poetry, keeping journals, or even doing their own mini research projects, like making a little booklet about their favorite animal. Writing becomes this active, useful thing. And then, of course, you've got the other side of the coin, the reading toolkit. Reading here isn't just a quiet solo activity. The classroom library is packed with all kinds of different books. Kids get to do shared reading, taking turns with their friends. They actually bring stories to life with a little bit of theater and drama. They dive into folk tales from around the world, connecting them to something so much bigger. This is how you really build a genuine, lifelong love of reading. But, for any of this to really work, the role of the adult, whether you're the teacher or the parent, is absolutely critical. It takes a really specific, really thoughtful way of guiding these young authors without accidentally crushing that creative spark. And this right here is probably the hardest part. It's a delicate balance. On one hand, you have to celebrate the effort, the pure joy of a kid just trying to get their story out. But on the other hand, and this is tough for a lot of us, you have to actively resist that urge to jump in and correct every little spelling mistake or grammar error. The creative freedom has to come first. The accuracy, the grammar, that will come later, I promise. But you can't sacrifice that initial creative spark for it. So all of this boils down to some really great practical tips. First, follow their interests. If they're obsessed with dinosaurs, let them write about dinosaurs. Second, give them a real audience. It's so much more meaningful to read your story to a friend than just to hand it to a teacher. Third, always remember that balance between freedom and guidance. Fourth, celebrate the effort, not perfection. And finally, number 5, just keep it joyful. It should never ever feel like a chore. Now, when all these pieces click into place, the purpose, that amazing toolkit, and that gentle guidance, well, something truly powerful starts to happen. Kids don't just learn how to use language, they actually start to find their own unique voice. And this is where you can really see the magic. This little story from the source material just perfectly captures the whole transformation. Just think about that for a second. A kid who found the basic mechanics of reading to be a real struggle is now so empowered that he's a storyteller, an author, proudly writing about something he loves. That's the win. That's what we're aiming for. And in the end, this is the main takeaway. The whole point of this approach is to help children discover the profound why behind it all. It's not just about knowing how to read and write. It's about understanding why we do it. For connection, for creativity, for sharing who we are. It's about realizing that language is one of the most incredible tools we have. And so, that leaves us with one big question to think about. Beyond any specific method, the real challenge for all of us, parents, educators, everyone, is this. How can we shift the focus from just the how to the why?
How can we create spaces where every single child gets to discover the deep, personal, and powerful reason why their voice matters?